Hi everyone, welcome to this week's recitation. We're going to be working on Intro to JavaScript. A couple announcements before we start. So you have an assignment and an exam this week. I highly suggest you complete the assignment first. It's going to be on flowcharts and pseudocode, basically on the recitation that we covered last week. And, complete that first. Come to office hours, lab hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, if you have any questions. And if you do that beforehand, then you can have a better time studying for your exam, which is on October 11th, which is also going to be proctored, meaning, let's say you're taking the exam, you have a couple questions, there's going to be a TA available at that time to answer your questions. Obviously, we're not going to give answers out, but as much as we can help you. Okay, so before I start, I'm just also going to give you the attendance code. It's going to be pumpkin for the fall season. A couple students had problems with the video. I was editing a couple different recordings, so sorry about that if you had to rewatch it multiple times. It's going to be pumpkin for this one. Okay, so let's get started. So today we're going to be taking this pseudocode and converting it to JavaScript code. So if you're able to understand how to get the pseudocode from the word problem, then you already have 90% of the work done. Now the work is just to change the syntax, and we're going to use it in an online JavaScript editor and actually run the JavaScript code. And let's see if it's going to work. So for this question, first we're going to need to do the start and stop parts, and that's just going to be a script tag. So what we're going to do is going to go to js.do, or you can find any online JavaScript editor, whichever you like, and it's going to give you this little pop-up. So this is just the sample stuff, so you can delete everything they have here, and I'm going to want you to put the opening script tag and the closing script tag. So the opening script tag and closing script tag are supposed to represent the start and stop. So now why are they tags? That's because you can also have JavaScript inside your HTML file. Just like how we had CSS inside your HTML file using the style tags, you can also have, you put in script tag, you can put in JavaScript. You can also do it with a separate file and link your JavaScript file to your HTML and link that to your CSS. You can do separate files or all together. For now, we're going to assume we're inside an HTML file, and we're going to do it inside these script tags. Okay, so you can just press save for now. It might ask you to create an account, but that's up to you. And then if you press run, nothing should be there. So once you have that, let's get started. So first we need our variables. What variables are we using for this pseudocode or for this problem? Revenues, expenses, and earnings, and taxes. You're going to need 4 variables, and those are going to be the first things that you're going to write, because you need to create variables so you can input values into them. So over here is going to be the JavaScript code. Notice how we have var, revenues, expenses, earnings, taxes, and we're going to put exactly that into our editor. Var, expenses, revenues, earnings, taxes. So it's going to be a comma separating each of them and a semicolon at the end. Now, just like we had to open and close our tags for HTML and how that was very important to not make any errors, in JavaScript, to not make any errors, you need a semicolon at the end of every statement. If you don't have something, or if something is not working, check that you have the semicolon first. That's probably most likely what's going to go wrong. So now once we made all our variables using this var keyword, next we're going to do is ask the user. And we only ask the user for things we need values for. So here in the pseudocode, we're reading revenues and expenses. That means someone's giving us the values of revenues and expenses. In this case, it's going to be the user. So we're going to put this variable equal to a prompt function. A function is usually a word with parentheses after it, and it usually takes in something. Here it's taking in a string. Anything in quotation marks, like here, is going to be called a string. A string is basically text that will be displayed as is. It's just like words. There's really nothing to it. If you just want to display something on the screen, you can put it in a string, and you can just put it inside a function that displays it. So here, prompt is a function that asks the user to put something in. So we're going to have two prompt functions, and we're going to, whatever we get from it, we're going to put it into the variable called revenues. So we'll put revenues is equal to prompt enter revenues, and then put a semicolon at the end. You're going to do the same thing for expenses. And press save. And let's run it. So it should give you this little pop-up. Sometimes if you're using a different online editor, it might just say it right over here. It might just say it right over here, and you can just input it right there. For now, let's enter revenues. You can put whatever number you want. Enter expenses, whatever number you want, and nothing's going to happen because that's all we wrote so far. But now we want to do the calculation of the earnings. So we want to calculate the earnings, and that's going to be exactly how you would write a mathematical statement. Here it's just subtraction. Earnings is equal to revenues minus expenses. Notice all the variables are always to the left side. That's because whatever you put on whatever value you get from the right side is going to be inputted into the left side. So that's how it works in coding. You would have to put like the variable that you're going to be using, or that's going to be holding the information, and then on this side or on the right side you're going to be having the calculation. So once you do the whole calculation, that value is going to be inputted into the variable. So here we're going to have earnings is equal to revenues minus expenses, semicolon. So now we calculated our earnings, and we took in the user input of revenues and expenses. Now we have our if and else statement. We're going to calculate if the earnings is less than 500k, taxes is equal to earnings times 0.2. Now notice there's not much difference other than the fact that we have parentheses. Exclude any special characters because that's not going to be included in your code, such as like dollar signs or commas for a number. It's just going to be the straight up number. And then for the statement, it's going to be either indented, or if you don't have any indent or white space, then you're going to put in curly braces. If you're not sure if you have an indent or white space, just put in curly braces to be safe. So, if earnings is less than 500k, hopefully that's enough zeros, let's put curly braces, taxes is equals to earnings times 0.2. And now we do the same thing but in the else statement. So you're also going to have curly braces, and here is going to be 0.3 because I'm making more money. Okay, so now like I said before, you can get rid of these curly braces if you have an indent, meaning let's say this is all the way to the left of the screen. Indent means pressing tab, and it will make an indent for you. If you're not sure, or you just want to be exactly sure, put curly braces because those will not fail you. Once we have that, make sure you have semicolons at the end of the statement. Notice the if statement is this whole thing, but this, after the parentheses, you're not going to have curly braces because the statement is not ending there. You're going to actually either go from checking to go to this statement, or let's say this statement is false, then you're going to go straight to the else statement. So whenever a statement ends, that's where the semicolon is going to be. Okay, so now once we calculate how much taxes they have, we're going to display taxes. Now instead of the word display, the function in JavaScript is going to be alert. So you put the alert function, parentheses, and inside you're going to put the variable taxes. Have a semicolon. Now let's save. You might just want to create an account just so you don't have to press those X buttons. Now you run. So let's say we made 9, whatever number that is, and your expenses were only this much. That's going to be your taxes. Now let's do a little bit more realistic example. Let's say you made $1,000 and you use $100. Your taxes are going to be $180. And that's it. So make sure you have the script closing tag at the end and everything should work. Okay, so that was that question. Hopefully it was not as bad as hopefully you're thinking it wasn't. Overall, the main part of coding is getting the pseudocode down. So once you read the problem, maybe write a flowchart if you need to. Once you get the pseudocode down, you're literally 90% there. Now you just replace a couple words, a couple symbols with actual code. So important things that we did was the var keyword. That's used whenever initializing variables. It is short for the word variables. Now, a couple functions we went over. The prompt function and the alert function. The function is going to be like a keyword like this, and you're going to have parentheses, and you're going to probably put something inside those parentheses. Here we put in a string, because that's what we want to display to the user. Here we put in a variable. Then we covered if statement, and semicolons are also very important. Don't forget about those. So for these next couple that we have, I'm just going to go through the code instead of actually rewriting it into the JavaScript editor. You can do that on your own time. I just want to make sure you understand how it works. So now this is the burgers and pizzas example. So now here, you're also going to have the start and stop script tags. The opening and closing script tag is just not going to be displayed here. I'm just going to do just the code part of it. But make sure you have that when you're doing it in the JavaScript editor. Now the variables, you're going to have the burgers and the pizzas and the total cost. Those are going to be your variables. So, var burgers, pizzas, total cost, semicolon. That's your first line. You're initializing the variables because you're going to be using the variables later by putting values into them. Now, we have to find out what the number of burgers and pizzas is, where you have to get the input from somewhere. Where are we going to get it from? It's going to be the user. So we're going to use a prompt function and put in a string. Number of burgers. You can also write, please enter the number of burgers you want. You can write whatever you want inside these quotation marks. Okay, and once you prompt both of them, you're going to have the values for both of them. Using these values, you can figure out the total cost. So whenever you're figuring out a computation, you don't have to write the actual compute word. That's only for pseudocode. In actual code, you just do the computation. And notice how, like I said before, the variable is going to be on the left side, and the computation is going to be on the right side. So after all the computation has occurred, that value is going to be input into the variable. And you need that order. Variable on the left side and computation on right side. Okay. Now, if the total cost is greater than 10, var provide coupon is equal to true. So now what does this mean? So this is this if statement right here. And all this is saying is, if your total cost is more than $10, then you're going to give a free coupon. And to do that, or to replicate that, we made a variable called provide coupon, and we set it equal to true. So now whenever you set something to true, you can only also set it to false. Now you can't change it to a number and a string and a word or something like that. Once you set it to true, it can either just be changed to false or just stay as true. Here, it's not being changed to false ever. It's just going to be set to true or set to nothing at all. And then you're going to alert total cost, so like display total cost. And then at the end, you also have your closing script tag. Okay. And next one. So this was a more complicated example from last week's recitation. The cardholder category. It's about the membership, gold member, silver member. Now, what are some variables? You need cardholder, you need discount, and you need membership. So here are our variables, and now we're going to figure out the user input. What kind of cardholder do you have? Are you even a cardholder in the first place? What kind of membership do you have? once they put in that, this is going to be case sensitive. So inside of here, you're going to put in cardholder, question mark, yes or no. And then the user is going to put either yes or no. And make sure you put exactly what it is, like capital Y and then lowercase es. Now, first thing's going to happen is, let's say you put in no. Then, notice how this if statement starts with yes. But because the user put in no, it's just going to skip this whole if statement and go straight to else. Now, else discount is equal to 0, alert discount. So, in an if statement, if it evaluates to false, you can skip whatever is happening inside the if statement and go to an else. Sometimes there isn't an else, and if there's no else statement, then you just, skip the whole thing and go to whatever is next. If there's nothing next, then nothing happens. So here, if they are not a card holder, they get no discount, and you just alert discount, which would just alert the number 0. Now let's say they put in yes, and then let's say for membership, they put in gold. You're going to put, it's going to evaluate yes, or true for this statement, and then for the next statement, it's also going to evaluate true because they said they were gold. So now the computer is going to straight go to this statement, discount is equal to 0.2, and then it's going to break out of this if statement because it already reached a certain value. It's not going to go to this else statement because both of these evaluated it true. And once it breaks out, it's going to go straight to this alert. Let's say they said, yes, I'm a card holder, but I don't have a gold membership because I have a silver one. So let's say you put anything else other than gold when they ask for membership category. Then it's going to go to this else statement. Discount is equal to 0.1. Then break out of the whole if statement because it already reached a value. And then it's going to alert the discount. Okay. So if that makes sense, that should be the end of this week's recitation. Good luck on your exam, and if you have any questions on your assignment, please feel free to reach out to me. The attendance code, like I said before, is pumpkin, so please fill out the attendance form. Hopefully there's no problems with this video. If you do, just please email me. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.